Welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage, everybody. I got an idea today. I was working on my Singer Centennial 201. I have someone interested in this machine, but I'm going to do a video on it before they come to retrieve it. But I wanted to talk to you today about belts. I'm getting ready to put a new belt on, and I thought, I've never really done a video about belts other than troubleshooting and how I think on one of my Japanese machines I mentioned how to set the tension on a belt, because you want just enough friction to drive the machine. If the belt is too tight, it will drive the machine, but it can really strain and severely shorten the life of your motor or the bearings in your motor. So first of all, I will show you what I picked up. I did an order. I got this through Sew Classic. There are other places you can get these. I like ordering belts at the Sew Classic site. SEW hyphen the word classic, and I like it because the people who have run that business have the measurements of their belts listed, and they have some of the machines they go to. It's just easier and faster just to get the belts done. Now, this is a black rubber belt. Okay, it has a shape. It's sort of a V-shaped belt. Let's see if that picks up in the light here. Okay, it looks. You see it's width here and then over here. It's actually chamfered or angled. See if I can get this to pull up on the camera for you guys. Hopefully you can see this in the light here. I had some decent light today. Get out of the way there. See if I can pull it up close for you all. Get the paper for it out of the way. Well, the paper's got to come off anyway. Okay, so look at this, guys. You see there's an angle. So it kind of angles or tapers on the inside. And this is a modern recreation of the original Singer belts. And I think I have one here. This is the old one. And it says, you guys can see this in the light, it says Simanco on it, Singer Manufacturing Company. And this one is actually not in terrible shape. But when I'm overhauling a machine, unless I can tell that the belt was replaced recently, because I don't want to be wasteful, I normally will replace the belt. This one still has some life in it, but anyway, I wanted to go ahead and get a replacement for the new owner. And again, you can see it here in the light. You'll see the inner, and the inner part is rubbery. It's nice and it has a lot of grip to it. Now, if you ever wonder about sewing machine belts, you'll notice that, at least in the vintage era, and this may still be, it may vary when you get to newer machines because they came up with different belt designs, but for many generations, sewing machine belts looked, well, like this. Now, they had different lengths, right? Some were shorter and some were longer, but they had this sort of width to them. And there is a reason, so I wanted to show you guys why. This is a section of belt that goes back to the treadle days. So when treadle machines were first invented, there were different sizes and standards, and eventually this is one of the standards that came out. Okay, this, and it's round. This, well, it's actually more of an oblong shape, I guess you'd call it, kind of an oval, but it has a lot of roundness to it. Not even sure if that made sense what I just said. But here it is in profile, you can see it, right? And it's made of rawhide, or it's a leather product. And this is the product that was used for treadle machines for generations. This is one of the hooks that you actually, you connect it to the other end once you've installed the belt. And I'll show that. I have a treadle that's getting ready to be listed, and I'll be doing a video on that. I'll talk a little bit more about treadle belts. But the reason I'm showing it to you now is because notice that the size, right? Look at the size. Now, the black looks a little wider, but in fact, when you realize that the footprint of the black belt on the inside is pretty much, it's close if not identical to the treadle belt, and there's a reason. Remember that treadle sewing machines were the standard for a very long time. And then in the 1920s, people began to have their homes wired for electricity Today we talk about fiber optic wiring, but back in the day, electric wiring, when enough people started putting it in their homes, they started getting electric motors, and there were millions of people who had sewing machines that were treadle based, and they were very attached to them. And of course, Singer and other companies wanted more business from them. And if they couldn't sell you a new electric machine, because then you had to have a whole new machine, and that was very expensive. And there was nothing wrong with the treadle machine, but they were trying to get people to transition to electrically driven machines because there was business for them, right? So what did they do? Well, they would have retro kits. What they would do is you could still have your treadle table. You would have even your old treadle machine, and I'll show this when I do the treadle video, but they would literally retrofit with a bracket that looked a little different than this, or they had something like this, and they would literally drill a hole in the side of the machine and tap it and make threads for a new bolt. The point here is that they would retrofit machines much older than this that were treadle-based for electricity. And it was a way to keep them as customers. You could earn money doing this. And of course, you could keep selling them, I don't know, things that were related to sewing. You didn't want them to lose those folks as customers. So when they did this, many people had treadle machines, of course, that had grooves in the hand wheel, right? The grooves were similar to this. Now, the hand wheels on treadle machines were much bigger and heavier, but the grooves were just like this. So because of the size of the grooves of the older treadle machine hand wheels, that was a mouthful, when they went to electrify, people, they weren't going to start getting new hand wheels. They wanted to make this as easy and simple, as turnkey as possible for the sewers, because people were very particular about their machines, very loyal to them, and they didn't want any kind of weird technology messing with their sewing ability. And of course, you can imagine the sewing dealer saying, hey, but you're going to be able to sew much faster. Look at what you can do. So they designed the belts that would drive the pulley of the motor and connecting it to the hand wheel. They designed the belts to fit the grooves of, this is obviously an electric hand wheel, but they would take the grooves of the treadle sewing machines, and they use that groove to set the standard for the electric motor belts so that they didn't have to replace hand wheels. All they had to do was connect them to the original hand wheels in the treadle machine, and of course the pulley on the motor would match it. And that is why it's not an accident that the treadle belt that had been around for a very long time. There were a couple standards, but this is the most common. And they would basically match the new electric motor belts to that width. So a little bit of nerdy history on why sewing machine belts are the size they are and would remain so basically until we get into the 70s and 80s and companies start some of the companies start to create proprietary belts and different widths just so that they could, you'd have to go to them for a belt. One last thing to talk to you guys about belts today, and I'll shut up, is some of you will notice that most of the belts that are sold for vintage machines, and I'm talking about replacement belts, are a very similar size, right? So, and sometimes they're sort of an orange amber color, but they may be a different color. And of course, they are still sized to fit. Now, I know that the orange belt looks wider than the treadle, but remember, this orange belt is also tapered, okay? And it has little lugs in it. These are called lugged belts. And it's really the lugs they're referring to are here. And they're like little teeth. Now, there are no teeth on the hand wheel of the sewing machine or the pulley of the motor to engage with this. But many people think that you get more friction with these lugs, and that's very possible. They're made out of some sort of rubber plastic compound, very flexible, And they have, the better quality ones have, I don't know if you guys can see this, if it's showing up on camera, but I don't know if it'll show up here in the light. But there are strands in this, and I suspect there's some kind of fiber that reinforces this to help it last longer. But anyway, it fits the same handwheel groove as the treadle and, of course, the rubber belt. Now, you might say, well, why didn't you get this amber-colored belt for the Singer 201? I could have. I have found that people who purchase Singer featherweights from me, and no, I don't have any available now, I'm sorry. I get that question a lot. People who have bought featherweights and sometimes the 201s, they really appreciate the history of the machines, and they prefer to have the black rubber belt because it is more historically accurate, and that's really just a matter of aesthetics. If I have a customer that says, you know, I really want the amber belt, I'll just swap it out. These are the same size, and I ordered a bunch of these because I use these a lot on a lot of the Japanese and Italian, the Italian neckies and the Japanese machines. I use these orange belts quite a lot. And originally those machines had belts that look like this. They might be black, and sometimes they would do them in different colors. You know, if you ordered enough from the belt maker, I guess you could order different colors. You know, Singer, Necky, they all did this. Sometimes they get white belts or light green belts or something. I'm not aware of where you can get those, but it's okay. You know, black rubber is fine if that's what you want. All of them will get friction, and all of them will work fine. Our ancestors used these black rubber belts for generations, and they didn't have problems. So if you don't have a lugged belt, don't feel bad. So it's not like one is great and one is terrible. They're both good. It's really up to you. You might get slightly more friction here. It probably won't matter unless you're sewing, good God Almighty, something super heavy. But again, the rubber, the new rubber has plenty of stickiness, just like new tires, and it's going to be fine. So there you go, folks. I just wanted to make a video about a rubber belt.